Hi, I'm going to show you today how to make a NeoCube out of these magnetic balls. Now, each ball has its own magnetic, properties, and it wants to connect to the other one. And you see how I have a little bit of it peeled off like that? See, because usually it starts off as a clump, usually. And you just basically try to find a spot where you can just pull it off, and you just keep pulling, and eventually what you wanted to do is just get a long line of them. So it's that way all of them are just in a straight line. And it takes a little bit of time, but this is pretty much the simplest thing. I mean, the only problem that you might run into is that the end might get, like clink and then, touch. So you can try to avoid it just by pulling it apart. But, just as long as you have it kind of like trailing so they're not touching, most likely be fine. Just pull and pull. This part here is the boring part. You're just unraveling it and making it go into a straight line. La, la, la. And almost done. Sometimes you're gonna clump that would just come right off, which would be easy because then you just if you know how to like separate it, then you're fine. It's just when you get to the end. See what I mean by how at the end sometimes it likes to connect? Now what I did there was just I have a magnetic thing next to me, so I just clinked it to it. Not everyone has that available to them. I just luckily have that. So you take your end like this, and you take the other end and you just have them blink together. So then you end up having a long, like necklace-like thing. It did what I wanted it to without even me wanting to do it. I'll just unzip it and put it again. How fortunate me. It's doing what it wants to do. It naturally wants to connect to each other. But yeah, basically you line it up and make sure that you'd have the 4 right there. You see how it undoes that? Don't worry about that. But you want to just try to fold it right there, and then it should go zoom, and it will connect usually by itself, and sometimes you just have to try to make sure that it all is even. And what you want it to do is have the balls line up so they're right on top of each other, not side by side, because that's not the kind of connection you want to do. So I usually like straighten it out, and then I take one end and I bring it to the other end, and then just clink. So now you see how you have the double kind of like necklace thing? Can you see that? So once you have that, what you want to try to do is find 4 on the top, and you just kind of like match it, and then you make sure that it all lines up quite nicely, and voila. And I lay it down as so. So now you have kind of like a little, almost like a bunch like little, it's like a 4 thing. So then you kind of like take it and you put your finger in between this right here, and you see how I kind of like unzipped it, and you see how it looks a little weird? Don't worry about that. And you just go through the whole middle, separate it. Now when you get to the end, it kind of creates kind of like almost like a canoe circle, and you just want to separate that, And then you see how it's kind of like does like this weird like separation thing. You just push it together, and then it should, you know, connect. And then once you have this, I have been told, you know, that you just kind of estimate about 1/3. So you kind of break it into 3 pieces, and you just kind of look what seems to be best, and you just estimate that it should be right around here. And to me, what I do is I get like a piece of paper that's thick or something that I can put in between, and I just push it down and cut it to try to break the bond, and then I kind of like break it away very gently. And as you may notice, some of the bonds don't want to stick anymore, and you just push them back together. It's really that simple. And I know how sometimes they just do not want to touch, but you know, trust me, it doesn't matter. And so then you just go back, and you see how you have your longer piece, and then you have your shorter piece. You take your shorter piece and you line it up, and it connects quite nicely, right? So now as you're looking at this, you see there's 2 rows at the bottom. Okay? You take that and you want to separate it. Now, when you get near the end, you just pull it away like that. And sometimes if you end up with one being like sticking out at the end, so that one at each end, you just basically just pull it apart and then you reline it up to where you have the 2. See, if you don't know what I mean, I'll show you. Sometimes it will do something like this. We have one on the top. You don't want that. So then you just would unzip it, line up the 2, clink, and then they'll just naturally want to stick together. And then you take this part here, and you just line it up. Not with that one though. And sometimes if it doesn't work, flip it over. And voila. I just happen to do it exactly because that whole putting your hand like that really does help, because it gives you more of a proportion to know where to cut it or separate it. And so then once you have this, I hold it like this to me, and as you can see, there are 6 this way, and what you want to do is count down 6 this way, because it's going to be a 6 by 6 cube. So you count down 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and what I do is I just kind of like swing it down. But for those that don't really trust it, what they can do is put a piece of paper or something down and then latch it over. You don't have to even have it, you can fold it downward. One thing I want to do is make sure that the bonds are attached. Sometimes then it will skew. I've had that happen a million times. It frustrates me because you have to start all over again. Or try to save it. But try to make sure that everything is touching, all is good. Count down 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you take it and you just kind of like fold it down. And then once you have that, you can see how it already has its first layer. Or second layer, whatever you want to call it. Oh, see, I hate when I do that because then it breaks the bond. So try not to play with it too much when you're at this state, because this is a fragile state. So then I flipped it over, and I would just take it and fold it like this, and then go down. Make sure you line up everything, and clink. And then you see how you have that. And then I take it, back like this. Put my fingers here, make sure the balls swing around, and attach. And I kind of just like make sure that all the things are just in the line, because that really can mess it up. So then you just keep doing that. Swing it around and touch. And as you see, you get to the last one. You just swing it around, touch. And voila! There is your NeoCube. Isn't that awesome? Yeah. So, I think it's a really cool thing to make. And you know what the best thing about having the NeoCube is the case that it came in has that little square thing, which is a little morphed because my brother decided to try to jam, you know, a bundle of it, the clump that it started out with, into this, and it ended up, oh no, really messing it up, the foam inside. But yeah, it just fits naturally right in there. Well, that's the way it came. And then you just put the cover on top, because you don't want this to be in your electronics, watches, you know. And then voila, that was the NeoCube. Okay, thank you for watching.